এখন আবার দেখতে পাচ্ছো?
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম, দেখা যাচ্ছে।
ওকে। So in the last class, we probably did the Ranison-Fay model, which could be thought of as an extension of the Lewis model, but we have seen that the subject of urban unemployment has been neglected there. The problem demands serious theoretical attention because conventional remedies have often surprised governments by increasing rather than curing the problem. For example, we find in the paper of Todaro published in 1969 that in 1964, the Kenyan government made an effort to reduce urban unemployment, particularly in Nairobi and its outskirts. You know, probably Nairobi is the capital of Kenya, so it is the main urban area of Kenya, and what they did was to enter into a pact with capitalists and trade unions, which called on both the private and public sectors to increase the employment by 15%. Now, what happened was, in its implementation, the effect turned out to be quite the reverse of what was expected. The possibility of new jobs caused migration from rural regions to Nairobi in such numbers that the end result was higher value of urban unemployment. For this reason, it is important to construct a realistic theory of rural-urban labor distribution that can be used for policy purposes. That means we need such a theory that would have to be based on the hypothesis of migration. So this brings us to the Harris-Todaro model. Here we have two sectors. Rural sector is depicted by R and the urban sector is depicted by M. They produce what? They produce XR and XM units of output and employ LR and LM units of labor. This is a short-run model with fixed capital endowment in each sector. Which implies output in each sector is supposed to be a function of labor. We are keeping capital fixed, so our production function gives us output as a function of labor, and the production functions are the same usual characteristics of production function that we had studied before. That is, XR, which is the rural output, is the function of rural employment, LR, with the first derivative, that is the marginal product greater than 0, and FR double dash less than 0 means the marginal product in the rural sector is falling. Similarly, we have the urban sector output, which is a function of employment in the urban sector, and similarly the marginal product of labor is positive and but falling in the urban sector too. Now the total labor in the economy is fixed at L. So we have LR plus LM less than 0. But we have employment in both the sectors, which implies LR and LM is greater than 0. Assume for simplicity that both sectors produce the same good, though by different techniques. This leaves all the major Harris-Todaro results unaltered. Now, W is the urban market wage expressed in real terms. The urban capitalist who has an objective of maximizing profit and classing. Where were we? The urban capitalist, what does he do? He maximizes profit, and in doing so, he is a wage taker. That is, the marginal product of labor in the manufacturing sector is equal to the wage rate. Now, urban wage has a political or institutional lower bound at W bar. What does it imply? That wage rate cannot go below W bar. That is, W bar is greater than equal to, sorry, W is greater than equal to W bar. This assumption is referred to as the wage rigidity axiom. That means the wage cannot fall below W bar. It is assumed that W bar is above the wage that would prevail if wages were flexible. This ensures that for wages W bar and above, there is an excess supply of labor in the urban sector, which means that competition will drive W down to W bar. Hence, the profit maximization condition becomes marginal product of labor in the urban sector is equal to the institutionally given wage rate W bar. In the rural sector, wages are flexible and equal to the rural marginal product FR-LR. So this gives us the equilibrium condition of wage, that is rural wage is equal to FR-LR. The flexibility ensures that there is no rural unemployment. This implies that the total labor force employed plus unemployed in the urban sector is equal to L minus LR, since no one who does not have employment in the rural sector are moving to the urban sector. So the availability of labor in the urban sector is L minus LR, and the probability of a migrant finding urban employment is assumed to be Lm by L minus Lr. That is, total number of laborers available is L minus Lr. Of them, Lm people will get jobs. So Lm by L minus Lr gives us the probability of a migrant finding an urban job. Now, workers maximize expected earnings. Now, what is the expected earning of the rural sector? It is nothing but the rural marginal product, and workers will migrate till the expected earnings in the urban sector is more than the expected earnings in the rural sector. Now, what is the expected earning of the urban sector? We said that the expected earning in the rural sector is equal to rural marginal product. What is the expected earning of the urban sector? It is the actual earning W bar into the probability of the migrant getting a job in the urban sector. So, as long as this rural expected earning is less than the urban expected earning, migration will take place. Now, migration equilibrium will be attained when rural expected earning, which is equal to the marginal product of labor in the rural sector, is equal to the urban expected earning as given by the actual wage into the probability of finding a job in the urban sector. Now, this completes the description of an Harris-Todaro equilibrium. The point to be noted here is that only condition 5 does not ensure equilibrium in the entire economy. And Harris-Todaro equilibrium is a situation satisfying 1 to 5. Now we have those previous equations, and we can solve for LM, LR, XM, XR. Now we denote this solution as LM0, LR0, XM0, XR0, which can be referred as E0. It is possible to show that LM0 plus LR0 is less than L. This implies that E0 satisfies all the 5 conditions and depicts the Harris-Todaro equilibrium. Now we want to compare this equilibrium to the optimum in the economy. What we find here is that because there is urban unemployment, equilibrium in the Harris-Todaro model deviates from what is supposed to be the optimum in this economy. Harrison-Todaro in 1970 and many related papers assume that social welfare depends on the output produced. Now, what is it? U is the social welfare, which is equal to the rural output XR and the manufacturing output XM. We can add them since we have taken both the sectors to be producing the same good. Suppose we have a command economy in which the government can distribute labor between the rural sector and the manufacturing sector as it wishes, and the only constraint it faces are from 1 to 3. What are these constraints? I hope you can remember or recall. That is the production function of the 2 sectors given by 1 and 2, and 3 is the labor constraint equation. So the government chooses LR and LM by maximizing 6, that is the social welfare, subject to 1, 2, and 3. Now, since FR and এটা একটা কিছু ভুল লিখেছি, unemployment is not desirable because FM and FR is greater than 0. It's not desirable. This implies 3 holes as a strict equality. That is, here it is the marginal product in the manufacturing sector and marginal product in the rural sector. Both of them are greater than 0. This implies 3 holes as strict equality. That means the maximization is a simple Lagrangian exercise that yields the following first order conditions. What are these? That LR, again I've written it wrongly here. Wait. So LR and LM is equal to L, and FM dash LM is equal to FR dash LR. Now let LM star and LR star be the solutions of 7 and 8. By inserting these values in 1 and 2, the optimal sector outputs XM star and XR star are obtained. Let E star denote the optimum vector. We had shown E0 vector for the Harris-Todaro equilibrium. Now E star denotes the optimum vector, which has in it the LM star or optimal employment in the urban sector or modern sector, LR star optimum employment in the rural sector, XM star optimum output in the manufacturing sector, and XR star shows the optimum output in the rural sector. Now, it can be seen that if the wage heredity axiom was not present, laissez-faire outcome would coincide with E star. Now, we want to compare the Harris-Todaro equilibrium with the optimum in this figure. Now, let MPM this and MPM be the marginal product of labor in the manufacturing sector, and MPR be the marginal product in the rural sectors. Now, as we have seen in the snapshot view of the Lewis model also, we draw these lines or curves with origin O for the manufacturing sector and O dash for the rural sector. Now this O and O dash is equal to the total labor force available in the economy. Now, output is maximized by breaking up the labor force between the two sectors at the point where MPM and MPR intersect this point. This implies that optimal amount of employment in the urban sector is OLM star, and optimum amount of employment in the rural sector is O dash LR star. In the Harris-Todaro model, the urban sector has an institutionally fixed wage rate W bar. If W bar is, now we can see if W bar is greater than F dash LM star, which is somewhere here. W bar is much higher. The optimum is unattainable because the urban sector will employ less than OLM star. Therefore, urban employment will be equal to OLM 0. Wage rate intersecting the marginal product curve at this point, and we have the urban employment equal to OLM 0. Now, we draw a rectangular hyperbola to find the rural employment. The rectangular hyperbola is a handy instrument for describing Harris-Todaro equilibrium. The general rule is that given the equilibrium urban wage and the employment level, a rectangular hyperbola is drawn through the urban wage employment point N, and the point of intersection of this rectangular hyperbola with rural marginal product curves gives the level of rural employment. That is, this hyperbola is intersecting this marginal product curve at this point. So this is our O dash LR0 is our rural employment. So to derive the rural employment, a rectangular hyperbola is drawn through point H. As rectangular hyperbola H is drawn through point N, and the rural employment is given by O dash O LM0. Now, rectangular hyperbola, what is its characteristics? Its characteristic is the area below the curve is always equal. Now, what does it mean? We get wage rate into urban employment is equal to this OQ into not rural employment, but this area. So, what does it imply? W bar divided into this is equal to OLR0 into OQ. The point of intersection between H at MPR and MPR gives rural employment, which is equal to OLR0. I think I better show you the equation, otherwise it will become very difficult for you to understand. Now, what we were trying to say, W bar into OLM0, that is the wage into the vertical distance W bar into this urban employment is equal to OQ, the rural marginal product we had here, into OLR0, that distance. This, by manipulating the equation, we get W bar into OLM0 by OLR0 is equal to OQ. So the point of intersection between H and MPR gives the rural equilibrium, which we have seen. Now LM0, LR0 is the urban unemployment. We have to go back to the figure to see the urban unemployment here. This to this point, from this point to this point, this gives us the urban unemployment. So this is the urban employment, this is the rural employment. LM0, LR0 gives the urban unemployment. Now, the diagrammatic method of using a rectangular hyperbola helps us to see the actual employment in the different sector. And it also helps us to see why the direct policy of curing urban unemployment by employing more people in the urban sector may accentuate the problem. So we stay at the diagram. You can check with the notes later. Otherwise, you won't be able to understand. Let the urban sector employ OK. Okay. That is, they try to increase the employment at the fixed wage W bar. So the relevant point is N dash, and hence the relevant rectangular hyperbola will be H dash. Rural employment will be O dash J. Okay. So rural employment drops by LR0J. So urban employment should have dropped from by LM0K, but it drops by LM0K minus LR0J. J. See, urban employment should have risen by this amount, but it is not rising by this amount because in an effort to increase the employment, what is happening? Rural employment is decreasing. That means more people are moving towards the urban areas. So instead of dropping by this amount, the urban unemployment, it is dropping by LM0K minus LR0J. Now, this difference may be positive or negative. So unemployment could decrease or increase. So we cannot say for sure that unemployment will decrease. Urban unemployment will decrease. Till here it's clear? It's clear
Yes,
till
ma'am.
here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now we have already done the Lewis snapshot view. We will now compare between the Lewis model and the Harris-Todaro model. Now in the Lewis model, there is no urban unemployment in each period, which implies when new urban jobs are created, just the right number of people migrate from the rural sector to fill in the new vacancies. In the Harris-Todaro model, rural-urban migration could continue despite the existence of urban unemployment. So in the Lewis model, no urban unemployment, just the right number of people migrate from the rural to the urban area. But here there is scope for urban unemployment, which is the order of the day today. The model attempts to describe short-run equilibrium. On the other hand, Lewis model provides a rather inadequate picture of what happens in the long run. Here also I have written wrong. This implies it is therefore possible to combine the two models, with the Harris-Todaro model being used to depict what happens in each time period, and then using the Lewis type dynamics to depict changes over time. Over the years, Harris and Todaro's work has given rise to substantial literature. Now, let me correct it, otherwise you'll get a wrong write-up. So, we come to certain criticisms. Now, Mazumdar makes the interesting observation that the use of urban unemployment rate as the probability of finding an urban job amounts to an overestimation of the likelihood of a migrant finding a job. Let Ln be the total number of jobs in the urban sector and L minus Lr be the number of workers in the urban sectors. If Ln people are chosen for employment from the L minus Lr workers by a random process, then the probability of each person finding a job is Ln by L minus Lr. This we have seen previously. In reality, however, a person presently employed would have a greater probability of finding a job than Lm by L minus Lr in the next period, because employers do not typically stack all their employees at the beginning of each period and choose new workers by a random process. This means that a new arrival in the urban sector has a smaller probability of finding a job than Lm by L minus Lr. Now we have two possibilities. We may treat the probability as a function of the urban employment rate, or we may treat the probability as determined by the rate of labor turnover, the number of new jobs, and the size of urban unemployment, which is a more sophisticated approach, but it is not in our scope here. Now, there has also been a considerable amount of empirical research in this area, and one of the most interesting findings has been the discovery of the urban informal sector. We are talking in terms of urban unemployed, but no one can survive without being employed. So, though they do not find work in the factories, they have to survive, and therefore there is the development of urban informal sectors in different urban areas. The Harris-Todaro model supposes that in the urban sector, people either find jobs in the formal sector at a wage W or remain unemployed. But a series of empirical studies in Latin America and Asia have revealed that this fact differs from reality in a marked way. Many who do not find employment in the urban formal sector end up working, often on poorly paid odd jobs in the urban informal sector. While designing policies, knowledge of this sector is absolutely essential. But a more theoretically vexing concern is the formation of the urban wage itself. In the model, wages are simply assumed to be rigid downwards. This assumption is crucial, as we have seen in our model. It ensures that in equilibrium, W bar greater than the marginal product of the rural sector, which implies there exists a rural-urban wage gap, which means there will be urban unemployment. If there is no urban unemployment, the probability of finding an urban job is equal to 1. Hence, the expected urban earning is equal to W bar into 1, that is W bar, and this exceeds the expected rural earnings, that is the marginal product in the rural area. But that is incompatible with our equilibrium, as we have seen earlier. Given the crucial nature of this wage rigidity axiom, the question obviously arises as how to explain it. This is a difficult problem, and there have not been too many attempts to answer this. But one extremely interesting approach based on labor turnover model of firms has been explored by Stiglitz in 1974, where he tries not to establish the absurdity of rigidity of urban wage. In any case, that is not necessary for the main theorem of a Harris-Todaro model, but merely tries to show why urban wage may equilibrate above the rural one. This is not the topic of our discussion. Now, as we have said, no model has any meaning without any policy implications. So, policy issues have to be raised while discussing any model. So, we do so now with this Harris-Todaro model. Now, we have seen that the equilibrium in a Harris-Todaro economy is suboptimal. Not only is it characterized by unemployment, but the marginal labor in the urban sector is more productive than the marginal worker in the rural sector. What policy measures can be adopted to shift the economy towards the optimum E star. Now, consider the use of employment subsidy to the urban sector. Such a policy would induce urban firms to employ more workers, which means one would expect this policy to redress some of the imbalances of the economy. But here too, there is a flaw. Now we look at figure 2. Now in figure 2, consider the effect of an urban subsidy if a subsidy of S, that is, this is the wage to be paid, this is the institutionally fixed wage, and the subsidy of S is here. This amount of subsidy is paid. If a subsidy of S is given to a firm for each person employed, the per worker cost to the firm will become W bar minus S, which means the urban employment will now become equal to OK, the per worker wage to the firm is now this after the subsidy. So the employment will be obtained where this line intersects the marginal product in the manufacturing sector, and it is equal to, employment is equal to OK as a result of the subsidy. The total unemployment may increase because of this subsidy. So we have a situation where the optimum is not attainable by the urban subsidy. To induce urban firms to employ the optimum amount, that is OLM star, a subsidy of S star, that is this has to intersect, this line has to intersect here in order to get employment in the urban sector of the order of OLM star. So the subsidy W bar minus this part, that is S star, has to be provided so that the urban sector employs, urban employers employ OLM star of labor. So the subsidy is equal to W bar minus FM dash LM star. So value of the marginal product, W bar minus the value of the marginal product at this point. I mean the amount of the marginal product at this point. Given this subsidy S star, the urban wage employment is given by N. So we have to pass a rectangular hyperbola through N. With this optimum subsidy, we have to pass a rectangular hyperbola through M in order to get rural employment. Now, what is the rural employment? Rural employment becomes OJ, which is less than the optimal employment O dash LR star. Therefore, an urban subsidy that ensures optimal employment in the urban sector necessarily implies suboptimal employment in the rural sector. Harrison Todaro went on to argue that no single policy could correct the aberrations of Harris-Todaro economy. which means that we need to look for a policy combination. Not any single policy will not be able to correct these aberrations. One possibility is to give a subsidy of S star to the urban sector and simultaneously restrict migration so that all workers other than those who find jobs in the urban sector are forced to settle in the agricultural region. That is, we pay subsidy S star to the urban sector at the same time we stop rural-urban migration. But such a policy is neither politically palatable nor ethically appealing. So we cannot do such a thing. What Harrison Todaro did not observe was that one way of preventing rural-urban migration without coercion is to give subsidy to rural workers. We have to take care of the rural sector also in order to prevent migration. If they are satisfied in the rural sector, they will not migrate to the urban sector. So we can give subsidy to the rural workers as well. Now suppose a subsidy of S is given to the rural workers and the effective marginal product of these workers is the upward displacement of this marginal product of rural sector. This means urban workers are given subsidy S star and the rural workers are given subsidy S. So the rural employment increases to O dash J dash, that is increase of employment by J dash. Now, how can the optimum be attained? The only possibility of obtaining the optimum is to give both the rural and the urban worker subsidy of S star. That is this much both to the rural and urban workers. So urban marginal product shifts up here and we get the equilibrium at the intersection here, and we have both optimum employment in both urban sector as well as rural sector. So this forms the basis of the claim of Bhagwati and Srinivasan that there is no single policy that can direct the Harris-Todaro economy to the optimum. However, there are some serious difficulties with these prescriptions. Giving equal subsidies and subsidy of the order of S star is very difficult to to implement. So this becomes a very difficult task. This brings us to the end of the discussion of the Harris-Todaro model.